Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of a Trendspek webinar series. And today we're joined with Sanju Matthew from Aeromotus based in Dubai for our discussion today on the DJI M300RTK, along with Trendspek's modeling software, where we'll also get to take you through some outputs delivered by the M300. So welcome. I'll just quickly start with a little bit of housekeeping. I know I've started to see you all say hello on the chat. Don't forget, throughout the webinar, feel free to ask any questions as we go. And by the end of the webinar, we'll get around to answering as many questions as we can. So as I said, my name is Derek February. I'm the CEO of Trendspek. And along here with me today, Sanju Matthew from Aeromotus. Hello, Sanju.
Hi there. How are you, everybody? Yeah. Hi, thanks, Derek.
Pleasure. So today I'll quickly put up, before we start, a quick poll just so we know what type of asset inspections you're currently looking to complete. And that will help us tailor some of our use cases along the way. So just on the right-hand side, you should see a poll pop up. As I said, we are going to discuss today the DJI M300 and some of the features relating to digital modeling and asset inspection. Sanju will also take you through a few use cases and benefits. And then I'll come back to probably our top 3 tips for capturing assets for the purposes of digital modeling. And then we'll take a look through a use case and do a live walkthrough, followed by some questions and answers after that. So in terms of what we're seeing here, it's a fairly even split across commercial buildings, infrastructure, oil and energy. So we'll take that into consideration as we go. So I will hand over to Sanju now, and we'll have a look through the DJI M300. Over to you, Sanju.
Hi, can everybody hear me, I guess, right? If on the chat box, if you could just confirm that you can hear me well, it'll be great. So to begin with, my side, we represent Aeromotus, part of DJI Enterprise business partner for Middle East and Africa. I would say most of us know DJI as a brand. So we represent the DJI Enterprise for Middle East and Africa, and we are a drone technology enabler, trying to enable clients and end users with the drone technology with a complete solution, including software, payloads, pilot training, after-sales support, and maintenance and warranty. We're known as a brand partner, reseller, stockist, and service partner for DJI and other world-leading manufacturers for drones. And we also provide training on aerial imaging software and data analytics platforms such as Trendspek. Most of us would be knowing where the drones are used in enterprise and industry, but I thought of giving you a brief. The major 5 segments where drones are being used for commercial services: public safety, construction, electricity, oil and gas, and agriculture. There are sub-segments within each of the industry where drones have different applications for construction, for surveying and mapping, and for inspections in each of these industries. We will go deeper as we go with the presentation, and we will go through that. To give you a brief showcase on the M300 intelligent features that could be helpful for asset inspections. M300, as most of us would be aware, that it's the most advanced commercial drone platform launched ever, and it's the advanced drone available in the industry, launched by DJI a few months back. The key features what would benefit for us in commercial inspections for assets and critical infrastructure. First is the 15-kilometer maximum transmission range. It's got the maximum endurance in the flight time, that's 55 minutes. It's loaded with the 6-directional sensing and positioning, which helps it to control the movement of the drone, irrespective of in terms of obstacle avoidance and collisions. It has got a primary flight display, IP45 rating. Operating temperature of the drone has risen to 50 degrees centigrade, so it suits quite a lot of Middle East countries where the heat is an issue. It has hot swappable batteries, so you can basically run the flight without having to actually restart the flight mission, so you can hot swap. It has got also an UAV health management system, so which gives you a track on each of the flight logs, what has happened, and it keeps track of the drone over every flight mission. Some of the features which I wanted actually to show you, which probably most of us will know, but a bit of deep dive into it. The improved transmission system in M300, that's by the DJI Enterprise, which is a wireless transmission capacity, which helps the drone to reach up to 15 kilometers away, and you have a dual frequency which you can switch between to avoid any interferences in different environments. It has got the enhanced flight performance, 55 minutes flight time. With the payload, it will go up to 45 minutes. It's got 7 meters per second descent speed, 23 meters per second the speed of the drone, which can capture almost 7 to 8 kilometers corridor or road distance in real-time environment. It has got a 7,000 meter service ceiling, and most of us would know service ceiling in terms of aviation. It is basically the highest altitude what the aircraft can reach based on the conditions and the specifications. It's got 3 different configurations, I would say, in terms of the gimbal arrangement. You have a single downward gimbal where you can mount a thermal camera or a visual camera, any one of the payloads. If you would like to mount 2 payloads, that is one camera on the beginning, and the top would be a different kind of camera for tunnels or for any other applications. So you have a dual gimbal, which is on. And then we have the third arrangement, which is basically 3 payloads. So this is the only drone at the moment which is available, which can carry up to 3 payloads for different applications at the same time. It's got a maximum capacity of the payload for 2.7 kilogram. Hybrid sensor, it's basically having a quad sensor. It's got 20 megapixel zoom camera, 12 megapixel ultra wide, a laser rangefinder for measuring objects from far distance up to 1.2 kilometers. It's also equipped with a radiometric thermal camera. So in terms of radiometric, what we see is that the radiometric will capture the thermal data, will have the images will have the thermal data embossed in it. And the key value of this, that it's helping, this sensors help long distance inspection methods without having any accidents during the inspection. Smart inspection, you can do a live mission recording in terms of aircraft movement, orientation, photo shoots, and zoom level to create any future automated inspections. It has got an AI spot check, which is it's a highly used feature in terms of inspections, where to how you can automate the routine inspections and capture consistent results every time, and to also ensure you have consistent framing. Waypoint, so you are able to actually capture the waypoints up to 65,000 waypoints, and you can have multiple actions for different payloads. And these waypoints will be actually used in either the DJI Pilot app, or you can also configure on DJI Terra and export the KML file and import it into the controller. So this is a good way to automate your missions for inspections. It's got an aviation-grade situational awareness in terms of flight information and navigation display. So the display has got information in terms of aircraft, altitude, velocity, wind speed, wind direction. And it's also got a navigational display, which helps you to understand what's the heading, trajectory, pinpoint, and different features in terms of any obstacle, which makes it very convenient for the pilot for the inspection environment. A powerful vision system. In terms of what is meant by vision system, it's got, as I said, 6 directional and time of flight sensors. helping it to having a maximum detection range up to 40 meters. Using the pilot app, you can actually customize the behavior of the aircraft, sensing behavior. You can customize the distance. By thumb rule, it's 40 meters, so you wouldn't have to worry on any obstacle colliding with any obstacles with this particular function. Some of the benefits of using drones for asset inspections. On a broad level, these are the main benefits. Of course, every industry has got different micro benefits as well, but on a general risk is we have reduced risks. You protect the workers from hazardous sites and materials while addressing the asset issues. It helps you to get a maximization of your time, keep the operations running while you have critical inspections conducted by using cameras and sensors. It gives you reliable insights, so you have a complete aerial data with point cloud and 3D models and anomaly reports. It enhances your efficiency. With these kind of insights, you are able to manage your assets with the automated drone flights to avoid any potential threats. One of the most important things which many of the people would be wanting us is to have reduced cost. Yes, drones is an investment, but the ROI is much more efficient in terms of reducing cost, repeated inspections. It avoids all the repeated cost and the maintenance cost. Most important of all is the improved safety, which helps the employees or the workers from getting into places or remote locations and closer to assets. So this can avoid all the hazards, and it improves the safety on site. Some of the use cases, primarily for one of the sectors, what we have seen is drone inspections are quite popular in the oil and gas. It can be used in different aspects and different assets within the oil and gas, production and refinery management, pipeline integrity management, exploration and construction in terms of offshore assets, from design to execution. In terms of electricity, power, and water, this is the other segment where inspections are getting much more popular in terms of starting from construction, planning, and design. So you are able to create 2D and 3D models for aerial site surveys to streamline planning and information design. Construction management, it helps you to monitor progress, reduce risk, and personal safe. Power line, power grid management. Drones can deliver accurate data in terms of grid, automating inspections, timely repairs, and downtime. Special operations, and then solar, in terms of power generation management. You can take both visual and thermal data using drones and the payloads and identify the anomalies using platforms. That's a very quick run through on the DJI M300, as we had previous webinars, and we definitely will keep holding webinars for M300 as it is getting popular as one of the advanced platforms. I would like now to pass on to Derek, who would take you through the Trendspek environment in depth, and let's welcome him again back. Derek.
Thanks, Anju. So I thought now we could go over, firstly, what Trendspek is a way to deliver and visualize and interact with 3D models. So we started with the ability to use, for instance, the M300. Our top 3 tips for data capture would be, first is to have a good overlap. So you're wanting to have an overlap in both vertical and horizontal parts of at least 75%, so there's no big holes in your capture, because modeling heavily relies on visually tying the images together to create a 3D model. One of the other common traits that we see is a lack of transitional photos. For instance, if you're capturing a building all around, instead of just doing the top-down photos and then doing the vertical facades, you really want to get that transition shot where you get, say, looking directly at a facade, and then one angled slightly down, and then slightly further down until you're looking down to, for instance, to capture the roof of a building, and the same with towers, which I'll go into. And the other part of it is to take advantage of manual focus if you can. So not just to always rely on the autofocus, but if you use that to set up your focal length and then enter a manual mode or use an assistant to then maintain that focus throughout the flight. Because if, for instance, with towers, autofocus can often focus through a tower, which will leave a telecommunications or cell tower out of focus. So they're probably the three biggest tips: to keep a good overlap, have good transition, and take note of the images being in focus. So we're about to take you through a walkthrough of Trendspek and a typical workflow. The dataset we're going to review is a chimney stack. So it was captured by a company in Australia, UA Visuals, using the DJI M300 and the H20 camera system. This dataset is going to contain just under 200 images, which is equivalent of just under 4 gigapixels. So gigapixel calculation is pretty much 20 megapixel camera times 50 photos equals 1,000 megapixels, and 1,000 megapixels is equal to 1 gigapixel. So it's really determined on how many pixels go into a model. And the resolution captured for this data set we're about to look through is equal to about 1.5 millimeters per pixel. So the way it's captured, again, we have good overlap, and circling a tower, we recommend either, if you're doing an orbit flights, to have a photo at least every 10 degrees as you go around. If you're doing the vertical flights, you want enough overlap to have this, the 75% overlap. And the distance you're flying away from the tower will determine your resolution within the model. So on the Trendspek website, we do have a calculator section where you can put in the H20. You'll then be able to say what resolution you want to achieve, and that will give you a distance that you need to fly away from the asset to achieve that resolution. So now I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you, and we'll take a look at a typical workflow. So as you can see here, we're now on the Trendspek dashboard. This is where you'll get a map view of your assets. And as you zoom, you'll be able to see your assets expand as you go in. You'll also have a list view on the left, which you can search and filter. But this is also where we can access user permissions and share securely data sets amongst colleagues, but also where you'll come in to load up your new asset. So it's simple as clicking on a new asset, or if it's a repeat, so it's a time when you've gone out again to capture it, you can select an existing one, just put in the date, name, type, and all we do is drag the photos into this window, upload them, and we walk away. Now, for instance, normal data sets are normally delivered in 24 hours. They're live into your account and will be notified, so you'll have it in a list view on the main dashboard. So the one we're going to look to today is a chimney stack. So once we click into it, we enter into the data set viewer. So it's a 3D view, and as it's live streamed, you're not loading big sets of files. So it can be accessed from any web browser on any type of computer. It's very natural to maneuver. You can zoom in and out, and as you see, as we zoom out, we reload the information to its best resolution. So you're not loading massive amounts of data in one hit or on a computer. One of the first features is if we want to look at the original photos that it's been taken to access this, all we simply do is click on the point we want to look at, and as you can see, it will give you a little orange pin on that exact point, and in the photo it will give you the crosshairs on exactly where I've clicked on in the model. If there are other images containing that point, you'll see them in the thumbnail viewer, which you can have a look at and look at different perspectives. So if we're going to have a look around this image and we want to go, oh, let's take a look at this. Where is this now located on the model? All you need to do is click on it, and you'll see now that we have a little orange marker on the point we clicked on in the photo. We'll also get any photo information up the top here that will give you the position and altitudes that the photo was taken from. So it's pulling the metadata from there as well. And we can also adjust brightness and contrast on the photos. Mainly if you get areas of dark shadows or really bright highlights, you can adjust the photo inside the viewer. So after photo navigation, say we identify a point we want to make note of. Trendspek has developed what we call our annotation card system. So we have this annotation card. We can mark this point with a pin. We can also change icons and colors that can then represent defect type, or it can represent a different department or a different type of severity. And it will give us all of the geospatial information along with the area to include descriptions. It will contain all of the images that contain this point. It'll also give us the ability to create custom defect drop-downs, so we can label that a crack, and it might be of low significance, and we can add custom ones to further expand on the defect matrix. Other than that, it can be used as, for instance, a chat group. So if you're within an organization and you've shared it amongst colleagues or management, you can tag and discuss this particular defect with other people. You can also share it externally outside of an organization and maintain full control of user permissions. So if I share it outside the organization, I could, only let them view it if I want to, or I could let them create cards, or I could let them create reports, or the ability to chat, or for them to have the ability to share. So it gets really granular with the user permissions. It'll also give a history log. So if I haven't been into this card for a week or a few days, I can log in and see what changes have been made and by who has made them. And we can also use this card as a file storage system. So we can incorporate more pictures that may have been taken on site, work orders. If it's going out to get quotes or tenders, you can have those quotes uploaded to this card. And we also have the ability to share it outside via email, which will essentially give it a summary of this annotation card. So I won't save that. So we've also got the ability to measure, and it simply is left click to start the line, right click to finish. Again, the same card, but a different front page. So it'll give you point-to-point distances, heights, slopes. Again, we can change icon colors, the lines, and icons. And then the rest of the card is all of the same. The other last set of tools is the polygon tool. So similar to the line, but we can draw different shapes and we can get the total area. And on surfaces, then you can also click calculate and it'll give you the volume as well as the cut and fill volume. So if we take a look at a different data set, and I'll show you some of the other features. This is now a reservoir, water reservoir that we have captured several times over the years. So expanding on from the annotation cards, we may end up with a big list of them. So now you can either filter them out just to highlight ones that are significant to you, or we can create different folders and we can just simply drag and drop into folders to have them all organized. Now you can see that we have the little eye icons, which are telling me which ones are displayed. So you can click on them and they'll fly you to those positions. But anything that we've got the eye or visible on the model, we can create PDF reports with a simple click. All we do is enter an email address, send a report, and in a few minutes' time, you'll get a presentation-ready PDF report. So now let's say that we have several data sets captured over the years. There's two options that we have to be able to display those on top of each other. One is our timeline feature. So for instance, this data set was captured in January of 2020. So we can pop up to our trend tools, have a look at our asset timeline, and we can then go back in time and see what it looks like back in 2018, or go back even further to 2016. So if we take an area to look at, I'll just let this quickly load. We can say, okay, you can even give it a direct measurement. So for instance, we could measure out, say, an area here, and then even take that through time. So see what that measurement looks like in 2018, or we can go back to present day in 2020. The other ability is then to do it side by side, so we can look at them together. So we have our 2020 model on the left, and let's say go all the way back to 2016 on the right. Let that load. So both of these models are synced together. So as we look at one, the other one will follow when it does load fully. So that's our trend monitoring tools. So as you can see, you can zoom in and see that this building's kind of deteriorated quite quickly over the years. Again, up the top, we've got the ability, if I close this down, you've got the ability for some other slight advanced analysis tools, like the ability to set a relative level or a base level, the ability to do cross sections. So you can, if you want to look at different types of cross sections, you can start cutting the model down. If we set clipping planes, so you can do that live on the model. The information bar will allow you to do similar things like store files on an asset level, not on a particular annotation card, and as well as the ability to chat with others on an asset-wide level. And we can then share it as simply as entering an email address and then giving what permission we want that person to have. Now, we can only give permissions to what we have. So if I've been shared the data set, I might only see the ability to view it, for instance. So that is a quick, I guess, overview of Trendspek and some of the capabilities that you can do with it. And if we head back, we might take a few questions that I've seen pop up. Okay, so happy to take any of your questions. Sanju, I had a few before while you were going through your presentation. Can the M300, does that work with the Z30 camera at all?
Yes, it is compatible with Z30. You can use it as a payload on M300.
Excellent. And I had one about, is the Crystal Sky supported?
The Crystal Sky, I think this Crystal Sky you wouldn't be able to mount on M300 controller, but you can use a tablet or an iPad on the DJI Pilot app. You can definitely mount an external tablet. It is coming along with the mounting. It can be a mounting kit can be added on the remote controller with M300, so you could do that.
Okay, perfect. I have another question here. In asset monitoring, is this platform able to check against the design models of an initial state of structure infrastructure? Yes, Trendspek is able to ingest BIM models. So as you saw in the side-by-side viewer, you could have a BIM model in the left and an actual model in the right. And as a construction project developed, you could continually capture it, and then in the timeline slider, you could slide from design compared to current stage of the construction project. Some other questions. Do we have to download it to the remote control, this app? Khalid, which program are you talking? If you're just talking about Trendspek, no, that's standalone on any web browser. So once you've landed the drone, you'd simply just take the SD card and upload all of the photos into Trendspek, and that's it. And then we take that and we process that, and usually the following day you'll have the 3D model live in your account. Are the model results compatible on Autodesk products? You do have the ability to download, we can make available the 3D model file, downloadable. So you can download it and export it to products like Autodesk and Revit and those other software or engineering software programs. What else do we have here? Asset monitor.
There was one question which I saw regarding the hybrid sensor. Can I take it?
Yes, go for it.
Yeah, the hybrid sensor is basically, it's one single payload. It's got all the sensors built in the same payload. It's a single payload with 3 cameras. You have wide, zoom, and thermal, plus the laser range finder. It's a single unit. Yep.
Excellent. In asset mode. That's it. The kind of reports Trendspek delivers, Yasmin, is PDF reports. We do have a few organizations that we work with in integrating with other systems or other software systems of their own. But yes, at the moment, And shortly you'll be able to export all of the annotations in a database file as well. Rick, yes, it is a bit of a expansion of Drone Deploy and Scopedo. Very much built around, the big difference, I guess, it's very much built around team use. So it's very much for organizations to collaborate internally. So between operational staff who can log in, inspectors who can make their assessments, which then can share with in-field contractors who can then look to see what work and plan the work they have to do. And the ability for then management to get an overview of the current state of their assets, as well as the ability designed for the ability to then collaborate with outside entities, for instance, doing tender processing or scope of works quoting and things like that. So it's definitely built around multi-teams, securely managing it, as Trendspek is certified for ISO 27001, which is the international standard for information and data security. So that's where we sit, and also the ability for anybody to really use it. So old company laptops can log in, they can easily access it and use it. It takes very little training and it's very intuitive, so there's not big training costs for a company to adopt. So that's where we really sit.
Derek, there's a question. What type of sensors are available on board for the geotag 3D reconstruction? So I believe that you're talking about the M300 sensors. M300 is an RTK-enabled drone, so you have a built-in RTK antenna on the drone, and you have RTK base station which comes along with the drone. So the position data on the images actually are georeferenced while you capture the images, and then it's a straightforward upload of images. You generally do not need any ground control additionally.
Yeah,
I hope that answers the question. Yeah.
And they deliver such good models using the RTK because the positioning of each photo as it goes through reconstruction makes really good models with which are really, really accurate, especially internally. But we've got a new ability to be able to do thermal modeling, so to also harness that H20T, and it works in the exact same way. So you'd be able to switch between the visual model on the left with the thermal model on the right, or if you're just looking at the thermal model, you have the same functionality, so you can right-click on it to bring up the original thermal image that went in to build that model as well. Sanju, can the remote controller buttons be customized, like with the Cadence controller?
I can get back to Rick on that. I would have to actually, I think it is possible, but I would like to reconfirm that before I comment. Yeah.
Okay. David had a question. The formats Trendspek can export to. David, we can make available files. So in the information tab in the model, we can make available formats like OBJ, DSM, GeoTIFFs that can all be exported. We get from the polygons. And we are currently working on shape files as well, and the ability to export the polygons as GeoJSON files. Bernie's asked who gives final recommendations on anomalies discovered. Are you talking, Bernie, about the models coming up? If so, all of the models actually go through a QA process. So they're actually manually reviewed on initial construction of it. Then it gets processed to deliver the mesh, and then it goes through a final QA piece before it's made live. So if any anomalies are found in the construction process, we generally be able to manually work on them to fix them up, if that's possible. Otherwise, if there's too big holes missing, usually it's best to have it recaptured with those holes plugged if it's got missing data. Who determines there was significant change to a specific asset photographed? At this stage, we do have AI team working in the background with a private release scheduled early in the year, which is an AI algorithm written on change detection. So if you've uploaded a second model, that you can run that through an AI algorithm that will compare it to the first model and simply give you a list of areas to fly to. So you'll be able to click on it and it will show you areas it's identified that something has changed. Not necessarily what it is, just that something has changed since last time it's been captured. Rick is asking about where all of the data is stored. Trendspek has multi-servers around the world. So we have servers in Australia, Asia, America, Europe. And if there's additional requirements, we can look at starting up other servers to areas closer to you. Eric's also asked about data security. Can it be online and/or on-premise? At the moment, Eric, it's cloud-based. And as I mentioned, being ISO certified, we are externally audited, as well as go through regular penetration testing. So our cloud security has been certified under that 27001, and it's actually a lot more secure than on-premise, with the most recent statistics saying that I think it was even 9 out of 10 data breaches these days are caused by on-premise data breaches rather than cloud-based data breaches. So we've had a lot of multinational organizations originally want to go with on-premise installations, but after completely auditing us, we've actually don't have anybody on-premise at the moment. Everyone's ended up going with our cloud solution. But saying that, we can also host private cloud solutions as well. Jamie's asked about labeling Trendspek. Jamie, all the accounts, you have the ability to change the primary colors and logos. So once you have logged in, you can have your logo up in that top left corner, which replaces the Trendspek. And instead of it being our gray and our orange, you can make it your primary and secondary color. The big difference between, this question about the differences between laser scanners and photogrammetry models. The big difference now is really only limited to really thin objects like electricity wires that are difficult to model using photogrammetry, and also dense foliage like forest canopies and things like that. Other than that, we've seen a big shift because Trendspek can ingest now certain LiDAR type of files or laser scans. But more and more we're seeing people move to photogrammetry because it is as accurate for 95% of the structures, but it also gives you that visual backup as well, which you don't necessarily get with the laser scanning. And then it also makes use of a lot of AI behind it, using imagery as well.
Derek, can I add that he must be asking against the drone as well as the laser scanner? So if that is the case, the laser scanner is a ground-based sensor. The field of view is limited. You do not get the whole reality model as such, what is captured by a drone. The other thing is that laser scanning is limited to the distance of capture. It's like limited to 100 meters and 200 meters. That's a limitation, whereas the drone can fly between anywhere up to 150 meters as per civil aviation laws. And you can set your overlaps and capture maximum data by oblique cameras or by the usual visual cameras. So laser scanner also has only a colorized point cloud, whereas on the drone imagery, you're getting actually the true reality model. So if there is anything further, we can guide you further. I mean, we can be in direct contact, and we can see where we can give you benefits of doing that. There was another question from Yasmin regarding how does the software calculate the soiling losses on CSP mirrors? The soiling losses, basically, Derek, what she's asking is in terms of the thermal data processing, there would be mirrors on the solar CSP panels. And does the processing or the analytics calculate the soiling losses? So this, I mean, if you want, we can take it offline separately, and we can answer that question. Yeah.
Sounds good. Also, just while I'm here, I'll just put some PDFs that you can download. There's some based on some of the benefits we've seen around operational staff using Trendspek. Also, there's a good one there on our capture tips, which is a bit expanded from the top 3 that we shared earlier. Other than that, if there are questions that arise later on, after you've gone and had a think about it, both of our emails are there. If you've got any questions, feel free to shoot email through to any of us.
One thing which probably you would have to, because for them to understand, if anybody wants to get the platform from Trendspek, I mean, you can contact any of us, and we can definitely give you a deal on the Trendspek platform based on the type of imagery and what are the number of images you like to process. There is the commercial aspect will lie on that.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you everybody for attending. We hope that you got some benefit out of it. And if you have anything else, yeah, as Sanjay said, please let one of us know. Otherwise, enjoy it, and we'll look forward to talking with you next time. Sanjay, thanks for attending. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Derek. Thanks. Thank you, everybody, for registering and attending the webinar. And we'll send you the webinar recording after it's been ready. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, and have a good one. Thanks, everyone.